Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Laura Rogers, and I have Joelle Jobson here in the little window.
Hello.
And this is Power Hour. This is a show we do Wednesdays at 11 Central for the last few years, like 8 years or something like that. We're old. We've been together a long time. And this is basically geared towards business users, power users. Started off as just Microsoft SharePoint Power Hour, and it's Microsoft 365. We talk about all the different technologies, SharePoint, Power Apps, Power Automate, Teams, and automation across all those. So I send out a newsletter the day before Power Hour, and I get your vote. So the topic you all voted on for today is the Microsoft Teams integration inside of Power Hour. It's an Power Apps. It's an integration object inside of Power Apps that lets you get information, contextual information about a Microsoft team when you're looking at a Power App inside of Teams. So we're in the chat, and I went ahead and I posted resources. Now, one of the resources, a lot of these are topics that we've sort of covered in Power Hour. One of the Power Hours we did about 3 months ago was all about Dataverse, and that's the concept of building Power Apps directly inside of Teams. Another Power Hour we did had to do everything with taking Teams, Power Apps, and publishing them to Teams, and we did a Power Hour about the Teams Admin Center, and you can also, I showed how you could upload apps in there to present them in Teams from the admin perspective. So we've covered a lot of kind of these similar concepts, but I wanted to just get very specific in this one about the integration object. So the integration object in Teams is not the same thing as a Teams connector. The integration object exists with contextual information about the team when you are looking at a Power App in Teams. So this is for use within Teams. The only way that there are a couple of different ways that you can have this integration object appear. Now, one way is what we did actually in the previous demo about Dataverse is when you create your apps directly inside of Teams, you automatically are going to have a little integration object that says Teams. It's a little object down the left side, kind of near all of your screens over there. And then the other way is, what if you had a Canvas app, just a regular Power App that you created, not inside of Teams, and you wanted to somehow get that integration object and bring that app into Teams and then have that integration object. So when you go into Teams and you go to just a tab in a channel in Teams, Power Apps is one of the things you can select there, and you can select any Power App that you've created and just show it in the tab. But a Canvas app that you just created as a regular Canvas app in Power Apps is not going to automatically have that integration object. So what I'll do today is first I'm going to show you what that integration object looks like and what it does. And then I'll go ahead and show you a couple of different, this other method of being able to take a Canvas app and bring it in and actually create that integration object. So now this might be a little bit like a cooking show, because some of this stuff is actually a little time consuming. The part where you bring in a Canvas app and import it and get it to create that integration object actually takes a few minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the cooking show, by creating a solution. And that way you'll be able to see what I'm doing. I'm creating it from scratch. But I don't want to spend time just sitting here waiting for a spinning wheel in the middle of a demo. Okay, so that part is going to be a little awkward, but I want to be able to create it in front of you so you can kind of see what all those steps are. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. And this is the chat for, the things that we're talking about today, but this is also where I did my Dataverse test. So this is a different, just a different team that I created in this same just tenant that we use for Power Hour. So I think, Joelle, last time that people maybe requested access to it, and you had to grant them access just individually. Do you recall?
I think so.
Okay.
That sounds familiar.
So probably a lot of the people that had already were in the Power Hour when we did it before are already in there. But if not, if you want to be able to jump in there and poke around, that is a Teams team called Dataverse Test in this tenant where we're having our chat. So also having to do with the chat, there is a form. There's a link to a form below wherever you're watching this video with a form to fill out to request to join. But we have to manually invite each person as a guest. So you're not instantaneously, if you've never joined Power Hour before, you're not instantaneously going to be in here necessarily live if you fill that out during Power Hour. So Dataverse Test is where all these little apps are that I created. But the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the main Power Apps console, web.powerapps.com, and I'm going to start by creating a solution, because for the part of this that I get to, again, this is the time-consuming part, and the part of this demo that I get to where we need to take an existing Canvas app and import it into become a Dataverse app. It's going to need to be in a solution, and it takes like 5 minutes to wait for this process to happen. So again, that's why I'm going to do that now. So I am going to just go to the main Power Apps console and create a solution. I'll call it Test September Dataverse. Well, I'm not actually creating it in Dataverse, so I don't want to get that confusing. I'm just going to call it Test September, and I'll just do a default publisher, create. Okay, so I'm creating a solution. I called it Test September. And then inside of my solution, I have to decide which Power App that already exists, that I've already created just in my list of Canvas apps, which one of those I want to go ahead and take and bring over to Teams and use that integration object in. So I'm going to do add existing app and choose Canvas app. Now I don't have any yet inside of Dataverse, and I don't have any yet inside of Dataverse. So in this tenant, I need to have a Canvas app. Now, what I can do is if I have built an app in another tenant, I can export it and import it, but I'm not going to confuse that with just the concept of creating a solution and exporting and importing that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a very simple Canvas app just inside of this solution. So I'm going to say new, and again, if you've already created one, you can do add existing. So the concept here is just to have something very simple that I can show you that integration object I'm going to make it appear inside of there. So test. All right, skip that. And so in my demo app, I'm going to go pull in a SharePoint list as a data source. Add data, SharePoint. I don't want to have just a completely blank app. All right, and I'm going to do let's do a couple of these just for fun. Okay, and I'll just have something on the home page. I'm just going to stick a label on here. Okay, so now here's just a generic app with nothing going on in it. I'm going to save it, Test September app. So now I've created this inside of a solution, and this is going to mimic the concept of having an app already that you want to add to Teams and have this Teams integration object that I'll show you. So I'll say test September app. And I'm going to go ahead and just, share it with everyone when I publish it. Everyone in there. Don't send an email. Okay. And then now that I've got this test September solution with this app in it, this is the part that's kind of time consuming, where I'm going to take this whole solution, go back to my list of solutions, and export that. I have to publish it before I can export it. Okay, so this is the part I'm just going to let that run, and it'll take a few minutes, and then we'll have to get back to it. That's the fun of having a live demo. So in Teams, these are some of the things that we already built. So we already, in the previous demo, we took some blank templates and built some apps based on the templates. But I also have just this very, very simple app that I created from scratch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this very simple app instead of starting from scratch again, like I did in the one where I did the Dataverse apps. I'm just going to use this test travel app as my example of showing you a couple of different things. So in this link that I sent you in the resources, the first thing that it mentions in this integration object is, first of all, look at where you're drilling down into. It's Teams integration and Power Apps, create apps in Teams, and then it's inside of basically creating apps in Teams. So the integration object, when you create apps directly inside of Teams, it's already going to be there. So the first concept it's going to talk about is the theme. So this is going to be the color theme. So when I'm in Teams and I go to settings, see I have these color themes, default, dark, and high contrast. So that is what it's referring to. So this is good. This first thing I'll talk about is the concept of taking, now this is a user setting. This isn't like something that an admin has set on a channel or a team. The color, the theme, whether it's dark or light, that is something that each user is going to have set up in their own Teams interface. So this is going to basically personalize it. So it's going to say, oh, well, if this user likes the dark theme in Teams, we'll go ahead and make this app look dark. So like I'll go ahead and switch mine to dark, and you can see what that looks like. You can see that I have not put that setting in this app because it's light colored when I look at it. Okay, so I'm in my Dataverse test channel, and that was my travel. Yeah, my test travel is the name of the app. So I go to Power Apps over here. If you don't see Power Apps over on the left side, click the little ellipsis and you can search for it. And I can go to the build screen here, and then it's going to show me, so here are the apps that I've created in this particular team, and test travel is one of them. So this is where I'm modifying the app itself. I'm designing the app. All right, so one thing that's kind of annoying, well, the main thing that's kind of annoying about this whole color concept and the theme colors is that's a lot of work. There's a lot of places that I'm sorry, what, Joelle? Did you say something?
No, I was having a conversation with somebody else. Sorry about that.
I was like, oh my gosh, maybe things are going south and I'm not going live or anything. And she's trying to tell me.
You're all good. All good,
Okay.
all good.
So I'm going to go to this, and this thing right here on the left side that says Teams. This is the Teams integration object. So this is the thing that this Power Hour is about. This is not the same thing as a connector. So I didn't go create, do a new data source and connect to Teams. That's totally different than other things that we've done in other demos where we've used the Teams connector to do things like post a message, create a message, create an approval for somebody, or send messages to people via Flow, anything like. We're not doing any of that thing. We're just looking at this Teams integration object. And the fact that this exists gives us the ability to pass the information about the color scheme and the channel information to the app as dynamically. So if you don't see this Teams thing here, that means you're not going to be able to do the thing that I'm about to show. So the first thing I'll do is I'll go to screen 1, and I'll just go to the fill color here. And right now the fill color is this white background. So I'm going to use the switch. Now what they do in this example is they use a switch. Now a switch is kind of like an if statement, except an if statement is just if this, do this, otherwise do that. Well, the cool thing about a switch is that it lets you look at one value and it lets you do basically a long list of different things depending on like one control and one value in that field or property. So I'm going to say, this is how I can reference what the theme is. So everything that I do with this Teams integration object is going to start with Teams dot. So when I do Teams dot, this gives me all the Teams integration object information. Is full screen, is side panel, theme, this channel, this meeting, this team. So theme's the first thing that we're going to cover. But that list of things I just said, that is the gist of this whole power hour. So I'm doing teams.theme.name, and that is the name of the team. Now before I do this whole switch thing, I just want to look at the themes, the team's theme name. Now when I am previewing it, let's see, because when I'm looking at the team's channel name and dynamic data like that, it won't show it to me when I'm just previewing, when I'm designing it. Let's just see if it gives me my team's theme name, if I want to just show that in a label or something. So I'll go ahead and add just a label to this. And I'll say team's theme name. And this says dark. Okay, so it does know. So remember, I just switched my theme to dark a second ago. So it knows that my theme right now is dark. So this is the data that we're looking at when we look at the team's theme name. So what I'm doing is I'm going to say, based on the team's theme name, I'm going to set different background colors for the screen that I'm on. So so switch, team's theme name. So if the team's theme name is team's theme dot, and so here are the different, these are the three teams themes. Teams themes? These are the three different teams themes. Default is the white one. Dark, and then high contrast was that third one. So I'm just going to start with default. That's going to be the one that obviously is the default. That's the light color. So if it's default, I'm going to do color dot, and I'll just do like antique white or something. And otherwise, if the team's theme dot, if the team's theme is dark, then I'm going to do color dot, and I'm going to do like dark gray. And then if the team's theme is high contrast, then I want the background of this screen to be color dot black. Okay. Look at that. So immediately when I finish writing this, it sees that my team's theme is dark, and it immediately changes to that dark gray. So let's try this out. Let me go ahead and just go to my settings and change it back to default. And when I do that, ooh, interesting. So I remember I changed it to like a antique white. That must be the antique white. And then let's try the other one. Settings, high contrast. And look at that. My app immediately changes to dark. Now, Joelle, can you kind of see what a pain this might end up being? Because now look at all the labels and everything else, right? So setting the background to a single screen is really simple, but you have all these properties and all these controls throughout your whole app that you would need to do this on. You see what I'm saying? So that could get pretty exhausting. Now, I'll go ahead and go so this is the text that I'm showing right here. Obviously, I can't see the text because I've got a dark background now. So I'll go ahead and go to this switch here. I'm just going to copy all this, copy. And then I'll go to this other control and I'm going to say the color of the text. And so then I can do something similar instead of the color being, it's going to have to be like the opposite, right? So I'll say if the theme is dark, then the color is going to be white. Oops. Come on, move out of the way. So yeah, so I only changed that one little parameter, but you can see that I had to go to this text box, this label, then go to the color, and then go basically into this formula, and I would have to do 3 different things. Like if the team's theme is the light color, then I would want it to be color dot black maybe. And if it's the dark color, and I also might want that one to be white. So as I toggle back over to default, then now this changes to black. So then I'd have to go to my gallery, and then I would have to go to every one of these little labels in the gallery and change their color. So what they've done is, so this gives you the ability to do it. It's just a lot of work. So what they've done in their default apps, when you look at the apps that are built in, the templates that we did in that whole demo we did about Dataverse, those all have a whole bunch of built-in formulas that look at what the current theme is, and they look at things like the size of the screen, and they have a lot of built-in places that sets. It's this whole list of colors that it sets as a variable as soon as the app loads. But then every single control in that app refers to the variable name for its color. So that is, Chris was joking earlier, we were talking about this, and he said, yeah, it's going to take 4 hours to build this app, but if you want it to look a certain way in Teams, it's going to take 50 hours. So it's like, now what you could do, so I'll go ahead and switch over. I'll show you, kind of dig into one of those and show you an example of where they put all that information in a second. But before I do that, I want to kind of move forward and show you the next concept. So this has been the concept of the Teams integration object to get the theme. The next concept is going to be just the channel name and the team's name and the channel name. And that way you even have a meeting name concept in here. And that way you can do something way more useful it seems way more useful to me than changing the colors, which would be have dynamic data in your app according to what channel you're in. So let me flip back over in my cooking show to this solution publisher. So I'm going to run this little thing that it wants me to check for issues. I'm going to let that run. So that's the solution that I created a few minutes ago. Do we have any questions so far? Do you know, Joelle? Let's see. It's hard to get to where the questions are with this app open in Teams. Let's see. I'll go ahead and save that. All right, now the other concept that we have.
Can you hear me?
Is not the, let's see, let me go to my label here. My label text.
Laura.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Could you?
I'll say that again.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you say that again?
Yeah, Claire was saying, couldn't you use variables to set the color of the labels based on which theme is used? If it's dark, set the variable for label color to white, that kind of thing.
Yes, but then you'd still have to put that variable in every single label in your app as the color, in the color property. So what you want to, if you're going to go through all that, what you'd want to do is you'd probably just have one place or one screen in your app where you just create a label, create a button, create a text box, create all the different possible objects you could create, and set all those little properties everywhere, all the fill and the text and everything to all the variables. And then that way, anytime in your app you want to create a button, you wouldn't just be clicking the insert and creating a brand new button. You would take the one you already created and configured, and you'd copy that and paste it. And that way it would have, all those variable references in it. And I'll switch when I'm done showing you this next concept. I'll switch over to one sort of towards the end of that Microsoft already built that into. But it's in all of those sample apps, the ones that we created in the last demo. It's all built into all of them. Anyway, all right. So we can find out what information we have about, let me move this little label out of the way. We can find out not only this was the theme name that I put on here. We can find out the information about the team and the channel that we're in. So first of all, I'm just going to display that information so you can just visually see, but then we'll talk about the concepts of what we can do with that information that's useful in the real world. So first of all, I'll just say team. I'll put a space. And everything that we're doing in this demo starts with teams. So it's teams dot this team dot, and then it has three things about the team: display name, group ID, and ID. So I'll just look at the display name and then put a space, and then channel, and then teams dot this channel dot, and then I have display name, ID, and kind. Interesting, kind. I guess that's whether it's private or public. Okay. Okay, now this one you're definitely not, so the color theme I could see immediately. This one you're not going to see because right now I'm just editing this app. I'm not in a channel or a team or anything. So I'll go ahead and publish. I'll save that. I've already published to teams. I've already got it. I'll just publish it to teams again so you can see how I'm doing that. So when I publish to teams, it's saying, okay, so this is the name of my team that I'm creating this app in, Dataverse Test, and which channel do I want to publish this to? So just for fun, I'll put it on the general channel, and it's going to give the tab the name of whatever this app is. So this app is called Test Travel. And I've already got the app added as a tab in a different team. So that way we'll be able to see kind of both of them and the difference there. So, all right. Let me just toggle over to another channel and then toggle back. So here's my test channel. And this is going to be one of those things where I don't know if it's going to immediately appear in the app or if I need to refresh it a couple of times. Oh, there we go. Okay, so team is called Dataverse Test and channel is called Test Channel. And then I'll go to my general channel, and that's the one that I just published it to. So when I go to Test Travel here, oh yeah, see this is the newer version of the published app. The one that was already on that other tab was from a previous time that I published it. So it did probably need to be refreshed again. But this one knows my color theme. I'll go ahead and change that again. And it also knows and it does the color theme on this text too. So team, Dataverse Test, channel, general. So it knows that I'm in the general channel. All right, let me go back to, let's see if I need to refresh this again. Oh, it refreshed itself that time. I just need to go away from it and back. So now this one says team, Dataverse Test, channel, test channel. So it knows. So that's the data that we're talking about, is just the concept of it knowing contextually where it is inside of Teams. Joelle, do you all, or has anyone said in the chat what they think some good business concepts would be to use this in the real world, this data? I was kind of asking that towards the beginning, but I've got a couple of ideas of things that I'm going to show, but I just was curious. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to, let's see. Oh, I don't want it to have an issue. Let's see. Sure. Oh, include a readable screen name. I don't care about that. I was just doing a test app, a test solution. Let me go ahead and try and export that. Unmanaged. Okay, that's going to take a few minutes too. Oh, no, it didn't. Okay, cool. It was so simple and easy. Well, it says currently exporting. I'm not sure how long that's going to take. One screen, one little label, one little data source. It shouldn't be too involved. Okay. So, what do you all think? Let me see.
Anything yet?
What was that?
I said no one has said anything yet.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, yeah, it's one of those things that you vote for it and it seems like it's like a cool concept, but then with the color thing, at least you realize all the work involved and it's maybe not as useful, but okay, I'll go ahead and move on. So let's see if it finished exporting.
So Stacy, can you hear me out?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay, Stacy asked why integrate it with Teams? Why not just create standalone and add as tab?
Yeah. Well, okay, so you don't get the little Teams integration object if you don't do this. So if you want to do these things that I'm showing in this demo with the colors and the information about the channel, then it needs to have the Teams integration object. If you don't care, then it doesn't matter. You can just add your app as a tab. So that's kind of the whole point of what I'm trying to convey, is that what you would actually gain from having that integration object. And if you need that in your business scenarios. So let me see if that solution test September exported successfully and will download soon. Okay, it downloaded, so I have it. Let me go ahead and make sure I know where that is. Okay. So I exported the solution of an example app. So I've shown you what it looks like when I create an app. So this app was created directly inside of Teams when I go to Power Apps and I build an app. So the one that I just showed you, I had just created from scratch from inside of Teams. And it already has the integration object. But if I go to the Build tab here and I go to See All, this is where I can import a Canvas app that I've already pre-created just directly from the main Power Apps console. If I want it to be a built-in, like a Dataverse app, and I want it to have that Teams integration object. So if I want my app to have the Teams integration object in it and it doesn't have it yet, then I have to go through that process of creating a solution if the app isn't already in a solution, and I need to create a solution and import the Canvas app into the solution, or create the Canvas app directly in the solution, and then export the whole solution, and then go here into Dataverse, go to this screen and click import. And so I have this file on my computer that I just downloaded called Test September. And that is how I can take an existing Canvas app and import it. Please don't break. We did this earlier. We tried it out before the demo. And it says currently importing. So then you have to import it, because inherently with Dataverse, with creating Power Apps inside of Teams, when you do this, each team ends up getting its own environment. So that makes sense with the kind of the technical part behind it, why it needs to be in a solution. because this whole Dataverse test team that I created is the name of an environment in Power Apps. And so I'm importing that into here. It says currently importing. So let me go, let's see if I can refresh this maybe. See it in there. It should be called Test September. It shouldn't take that long. And go. Teams. We just start from the main team screen and go back to it and see if it finished or not. See, this is what I was trying to avoid in doing that whole, like, the time consuming part kind of over on a different screen, is avoiding making it bomb out like that.
Lisa asked if a solution could have more than one Canvas app while you're waiting.
Yes. It can, because what I did earlier in the previous demo was that I created that one team. Oh, she asked a solution or an environment. I think she said solution. Yeah.
Solution.
The concept of a solution, the whole purpose behind it is, well, not the whole purpose. One useful purpose of a solution is to be able to, you can kind of use it as a folder. So in the example of some more complex business processes like I've created that might involve multiple Canvas apps, might involve multiple flows, but they're all really part of the same business solution, then you can create a solution and you can put all the associated apps and flows and everything. You can even do environment variables in there. And then that whole solution can be taken from dev to prod or whatever. But even if you don't export the solution and import it from dev to prod, you can still use that solution just as a folder to organize your apps and organize your apps and flows that are of certain topics. Does that help? And my Teams is just completely, yeah. I broke Teams. That's awesome. Maybe it's still importing, so everything else is just having to wait for it. Let me see if I can go to it again. That's awesome. Okay. Can you, let's see. No, you can't send anything to me in chat. I was going to say, can you send me the URL directly to that team? You know, I could just open it up in Teams. I could just do that. I swear this is the exact thing that I was trying to avoid by doing stuff off in another tab. All right, I'm going to go ahead and just open the Teams client because I was just doing this in the browser. And let me switch over to this view. There we go. So again, the whole concept of this integration object, it's got a lot of confusing concepts around it because of all the different ways that you can publish apps and the different ways you can put them in teams. So let me go make sure that I'm getting this logged in while I'm talking. So are you all using Dataverse, and does this seem like a good reason to use it? The next thing that I'm going to do is show you how you can filter data based on what channel that app is in, or show a default value in a form based on what channel that app is in.
Yeah, somebody had just asked if with the Teams integration, is there a way to pass data to the Power App? So
that is what the Teams integration is, but the only
Right.
data you're passing is what the team is and what the channel is.
Gotcha. So not from Flow or an adaptive card. I think that's what they asked.
No, that would be, so if you're doing something with an adaptive card, that would be more the Teams connector. And the Teams connector is going to let you present an adaptive card to somebody, send them a message, or post something in a team or a channel, things like that. But this is the only thing this is with the integration object is the colors and the name of the team and channel. So I got it. Oh, it came up. All right, look at that. There's my app. You see it? Oh, wait, let me share my screen again. as I was just waiting for this to appear, and it was just kind of spinning, this finally came up. So there we go. Okay, so here's my test September app. It did import. So now let's go ahead and look at it and see, like, this drum roll to see if it actually has the integration object in it now magically. All right, it needs to use my SharePoint connector. That's fine. And look at that, Teams. So that's what I was looking for. This little thing over on the left that says Teams. So that's what I know is going to give me the ability to use that Teams dynamic data. So while I'm in this one and while I've got my Teams dynamic data, let's do a little bit more with this concept of passing that information. So with travel requests, I'm going to, let's see what I've got for travel requests. I've got, let's go insert a form control. I don't like the only way you can insert things when you're inside of Teams is in this little left thing here. It's very awkward. It's already got data. New screen. Oh, there we go. That is interesting. I don't want one of your tables. I want mine. SharePoint. See, that's really annoying. It wants you to just use the Dataverse ones. That's not what I want at all. I just want to put a form control on here that I already... That's annoying. Okay, well, I'll just let it do that, and then I'll delete it. Don't tell. Yeah, it really, really wants to force you to use Dataverse and not just be able to have a SharePoint thing in there and just add that. Let me try that again. Oh, now I've got an edit form. Okay, so on this screen, I've got this thing I'm going to delete. This thing I'm going to delete. And I've got this form I just added. So that's a little hack. So who knew we were going to learn about a hack of getting around the fact that they want you to use Dataverse and you just want to use SharePoint. So I've got this. I'll just delete this other screen. All right, so I'm going to connect to data. And I'm going to use my, let's see, my work progress tracker is what I'm going to use in here. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is my work progress tracker has a category. So my category looks like this. It's research, engineering, design, marketing. And I could say, and a good business example might be, I have channels in my Teams team for each of these concepts like research, engineering, design, and marketing. And when I'm filling out a form in this app, I want it to just automatically know to fill in that category with that value. So this is the concept, just one idea of the concept that we're talking about with being able to pre-populate these. So I'm going to go ahead and say I want my category to be whatever channel I'm in. So now we're at 11:44, so this is the part of Power Hour where it might go off the rails because I sort of tried this ahead of time, but not really. So I've got my default for this card. I'll unlock it, and then I'll say if this form 1 dot mode equals new, then I want it to show And this is where, since it's a choice field in SharePoint, I have to do that weird curly brackets thing. So I'm going to do value. I don't remember if it's a lowercase. I think it's an uppercase V. Value, and then teams dot does it let me do teams? Oh yeah, teams dot data. Yeah, that is weird. Yeah, I don't know about that. It's like it's got a different teams dot information when I'm inside of a form. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, instead of showing, trying to do this inside of filling out a new form, I want to go ahead and just filter a gallery. So I'm going to take that list of all those, all these items, and I'm just going to say whatever channel I'm in, I want it to show items from that category. So that's the other thing that I'm going to try. Okay, so on another screen, I'll do a new screen. And then on this screen, I'm going to, look at it's making me do that again. Oh, you know what? What if I just copy my screen, and then that way I can just do whatever I want with it. Okay, so here's my screen 2. So instead of a form, I'm going to insert a gallery. And then I'll do my work progress tracker, and I'll do my title and subtitle. And then in my work progress tracker, you can see this is the list of items in SharePoint. And then I'll make this a little wider, and I'll show that category in here. So let me give this a little division in between here so I can tell what's going on. My template fill, I'll make it gray. Light gray. And then my template padding, just so I can kind of see, in between, a little space in between these. I like to do that just really quickly. And then inside of these, I'm going to insert a label that's going to have the name of the category. This item dot category dot, and since it's a choice control, it's a complex field. So this item dot category dot value. So this is what I want to filter. So I'm going to say I want to filter this gallery. I'm going to show one that's not filtered, and I show one that is filtered, so you'll be able to see kind of the difference. So this gallery has everything in it. So my items property is just going to be everything in that SharePoint list. And then this one is going to be, I'm filter the SharePoint list where the category dot value equals teams dot, look at that, teams dot data. Let me try something. Insert a label here. Teams. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, you know what? I haven't published this to Teams yet. That's probably why I don't have any more detailed information. Let me go ahead and go forward with that part. Okay, so I saved it. I'm publishing it to Teams. And I'm assuming that's what I'm missing, because the Teams integration object appeared, but I'm assuming that's why, because remember the Teams dot information in the other app had a whole list of things, and this one just had dot data. So that's what made me think that maybe that's what was different about it. So let's see, Teams dot. Nope, it still says teams.data. Ooh, that's interesting. Okay, let me go to the other app and show you what that would look like then, because I'm not sure now what kind of the missing piece as far as what the team's data is going to be. Let me see. I would definitely recommend that if you're going to do this whole integration object thing, just the easiest, just path of least resistance is just going to be to create the app inside of Teams in the first place. Because this whole, all the steps we had to go through just to get it in here, the building the solution, importing in the solution, exporting it, going, to the list of apps and, anyway, it's a lot of complexity that you're adding to something that is maybe not really worth all that extra work. So this is the part of Power Hour, or I'm not sure why that one little specific thing didn't work like the other app worked, but that is the team integration object. Let me see. Okay, so let's go back to, I want to finish up this concept. So we have 10 minutes left, and I want to go ahead and finish up this concept of showing that dynamic filter based on what channel you're in and be able to show that filtered data. So let's see if I can do that real quick. So I'm going to go back to save that, go back to my build tab. And then I'm going to go ahead and just go to this other app. So this is the one that I showed you a few minutes ago that I already created just directly here inside of Teams. I'll go to that one, because we know that data works and we already tested that one. And the dog is snoring. Can you hear her? Okay, so I do want to make sure that, so I've got, I'll add my SharePoint data in here. And then my Power Hour and work progress tracker, that's my list. And then I'll go ahead and go to, it's going to do it to me again with the screens. It just wants to pre-build this thing. I think it's trying to be like Microsoft Access, right, when it's doing that. Does that kind of remind you of Access? Joelle, did you used to use that? Of the way it's kind of got like a wizard where it's explaining to you how to build your app.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So, all right. So this is going to be my work progress tracker. Again, I'm just doing the exact same thing I did a minute ago with putting this information in this gallery, and then I'm going to insert that category so you can see it. This item.category.value. Okay, so I'm going to filter this based on the channel that I'm in. Again, filter the work progress tracker where category.value equals teams dot, see, there's all that information. Dot this channel dot display name. Okay, now obviously I'm not in a channel right now because I'm designing the app. So what I need to do is I'll go ahead and save this and publish it to Teams. And I'm going to make sure that I have some channels that match the names of these categories so you can get this full concept of what I'm building. So I'm just to save a little time, I'm just going to create a channel called marketing and a channel called engineering. So I'll go back into Teams. So I've saved this. And I'll go ahead and go back to Teams. And I'll go to here and create marketing. Standard. And go ahead and show that for everybody. And engineering. Does this make this seem maybe a little more useful? That it could potentially have, a business use case. Okay, so marketing and engineering. So now I've got these two exist. Now I'm going to go back to my app. It's kind of awkward navigating around back and forth in here, by the way. And going back to test travel. And then I'm going to publish this to Teams, and I'm going to publish it to both of those channels. And then I'll be able to go to the channels and see this app and be able to see it filtering the information based on what channel it's in. Okay, so I have screen 2. I'm just going to move screen 2 up just so that it's the... Oh, did it not save all my changes? Oh, no, there it is. It's there. I just can't see any information in it because I haven't published it yet. Okay, save. And publish to teams. And the dog is snoring some more. At least we only have one snoring dog in here, not both of them. Oh, it is taking a while. All I did was move a screen up and it's taking 5 minutes. Okay. Publish, next. And then this is where you're going to be presented with all the channels, and you can just publish it to all those channels pretty quickly. Except I've got this dark theme and it seems to be confused about that. So marketing and engineering. So I just added it to both of those. That is pretty awkward looking, isn't it? Okay. And I'll go ahead and just switch my theme back over to default so it won't look so odd. Okay, so I should be able to go to Teams and I should be able to go to Marketing, and now I see that it's been published to Marketing. And it didn't put it, that other channel, that other screen was the one that I made be the first screen. Let me see, maybe it just didn't publish those latest changes. Oh. Yeah, this one worked. Okay, so this is the gallery. So you can tell that this is the gallery with like the names of things, and I had 2 items in there that were engineering. So doing things and stuff and fluff were the those were the 2 engineering items. So these are it's a very simple gallery. These are the 2 items that it's showing in that gallery. And then let me try go to marketing again. See if it refreshed. There we go. So 3 marketing items. So there are my 3 marketing items in that SharePoint list. And so since I'm in the marketing channel, it's showing the 3 marketing items. And then, so if, again, with that concept, I don't have time, but that concept does exist of being able to have a form and a card and have the default value of that card have maybe the name of the team and the channel that you're in and have it pre-populated. So I'll go ahead and switch back to this. I know it's pretty confusing with the Power Apps and the teams and the publishing and the Dataverse, and so try to keep it pretty simple to only go over the integration object and not just all those other cool things you can do with Teams connectors. So does that make sense? And do you all have any more questions about that? Let's see.
Yeah, there are a couple of questions in there. I don't know if you want me to read them or not.
Oh, okay. Let me go find that. I'm all lost in Teams now. All my tabs, my channels. Let's see. Let me pull this over here. Lisa, can you extend permissions for a Dataverse table to people outside of the team? That is a great question. I feel like they might have added that recently. I feel like I read that they were going to do that, but I'm not sure off the top of my head how you would do that. Richard says, not sure why you do this rather than have a drop down in the screen that has the gallery. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it is easier, Richard, for citizen developers to create a Dataverse table as opposed to a SQL table. But I don't know. Just the whole concept of being inside of Teams to do all that, I usually would just rather go just create a regular Canvas app. But the cool thing about creating apps inside of Teams is if you have never seen this before and you're brand new to Teams and you're brand new to apps, it is a nice sort of simplified interface for just quickly whipping something up in there for those power users. What did I miss? Let's see.
I think that was all the
data through
main
integration
questions.
is just the team channel name and themes. Yes, that is it. that is what it entails. I'm sorry, what, Joelle?
No, you're good. I was just
Okay.
looking at the questions.
Lisa, I still would use a SharePoint list over Dataverse because, again, I feel like the whole purpose of that simple Dataverse table is for people that may not even know SharePoint exists, may not know what any of this is. Maybe they are familiar with Microsoft Access in the past, and they just see a button in Teams that says create an app, and they see an easy way to create a table. So I feel like people that are creating Dataverse tables may not necessarily know the difference. They may not even know that they're making a choice. All my apps I create as standalone. I create them with SharePoint backend. And because most of the projects I work on and most of our customers are small and medium businesses, and they don't have the budget for where you start going when you start delving into the premium connectors. And a lot of people are still so brand new, even people that are just moving to the cloud are still so brand new to Teams that they barely started using apps, and they definitely have not started using apps inside of Teams yet. So yeah, does that kind of sum it up, Joelle? Is there any other thing you can think of as far as when to use Dataverse versus SharePoint lists? Yeah,
No, I think pretty much sums it up.
Yep. So yeah, y'all go check out that previous Power Hour where we did all those example apps that Microsoft created for creating, Dataverse, and kind of see for yourself and just see, if that seems like it would be useful to you. But I mean, even with just a regular Canvas app, you can put it as a tab in Teams. And again, we had a whole Power Hour about how to take a Canvas app and publish it to Teams and put it in a tab in Teams, and even put it going down the left panel in Teams and pin it to that so that the app's available to everybody in your company. So all that exists without building the app directly inside of Teams, which makes all of this just so much more confusing. And publishing it to Teams is different than exporting, and importing into create an app in Teams is different than importing it from one tenant to another. So yeah, I tried to kind of explain all that and make it make sense and not let it get too convoluted with just the explanation of what the integration object is. All right, well, I've gone over by 2 minutes. Thanks everybody for coming, and Microsoft Ignite is coming up at the beginning of November, so y'all check that out. Go to Microsoft Ignite website and check out iwmentor.com and click schedule at the top to see when we're having our next Power Hour. And thanks everybody. See you next time.